Okay, hi everyone. This is SmithyQ from SmithyQ.com, and we're here with another Blitz game. And this one is okay. Technically, I quote unquote lost this game because I lost on time when I was one move away from checkmate. But who cares about that, right? It's not so often. It's not the results we want. It's the process, and the process in this game was damn amazing. It's one of the best. Attacking ideas that I've come up with in a long time, certainly in a Blitz game, and against someone almost 2100 rating, in Blitz no less, so this is just great. And this is special in some ways because it comes with my pet opening against the French. Those of you who know me know that the French is probably my least favorite opening. It's a silly opening, it leads to closed block structures, which is why I play the exchange variation with C4. And I played this for years and years and years. I actually learned this from Josh Waitskin back in his old the Chessmaster 5000 or 8000, one of them, and where he showed you how to play this basically. And that's honestly the only study I've ever done. I've looked at Josh play 2 games, and then I've essentially taken that. I've run it for years. I've had some really good success with it. So let's take a look at the main idea. Well, obviously, this is not a French defense position anymore. It's wide open. We're going to have an isolated pawn. Sooner or later, he's going to take here, and then we're going to come out here. And this position can actually be reached by the Queen's Gambit. Funny enough, if you can believe it. So if we just back up, if you imagine the Queen, let me just put this on the board here, the Queen's Gambit with e5, and after take, it's essentially the exact same position if we go back to the game. Where if black takes right now when we come back, then this is identical to a Queen's Gambit. And so I've tricked my opponent into the Queen's Gambit accepted. Of course, black is able to save a tempi by not taking right away, and that's what happens in the game. This is, of course, perfectly natural. He develops, I develop, he develops, I develop, he castles. And now here, the whole idea with this system is not to play the normal knight f3. Which is a fine move, and it may even be the best move in all honesty. The thing is, after knight f3, his bishop comes to g4. It's probably going to exchange it. My d-pawn's really, really weak. We don't want that to happen. And so Josh Waitskin played it. I played it this way with the knight on e2. Now after take, you might be saying, okay, Smithy, you got the isolated pawn, and normally you want the knight on f3 so it can jump to e5. And that's true. But the knight here on e2 has some certain tactical and strategic ideas as well. Let's take a look at them. So he brings his knight out, castle, he attacks my bishop, I retreat, and then he plays bishop f5. And now here's where the position of the knight becomes central. Is I develop to g3, and then I push f4. He's pretty much forced to play h6, f5, bishop h7. And look what's happened. His bishop is now entombed on h7. And the resulting middle game is going to depend on, is this bishop doing anything, or is it simply locked out of the way? We can imagine in a perfect world, I can get this pawn here, that bishop is stuck forever. Absolutely forever. Also notice that he could never play g6 to escape. One, g6, yes, is really weakening. But also, there's this pin here on this pawn, which weakens g6 even further. And that allows potential tactics. We'll see something similar in the games coming up. And more than anything, this position, imagine you're a French defense player. Maybe you are a French defense player. If you are, you should probably, switch to a better opening. But are you prepared for a position like this? Have you ever studied this? You probably haven't studied this. And even if you have, when you play the French defense, you're either playing the Rubinstein, where you're exchanging on, not that, you're either exchanging like this and getting this type of pawn structure, or you're getting this type of pawn structure, the center blocked. When we look at this game, let's just skip right back ahead. I mean, this is completely different. I've played hundreds of games. Yeah, without exaggeration, hundreds of games in this structure. It's almost guaranteed I'm more familiar with the ideas and the plans than my opponent. And so even if the computer says that this position or this opening, isn't so great, black has easy equality. In practice, it doesn't quite work that way. Black has to thread a pretty fine line, I find, and I do pretty well with it. I play bishop e3, possibly bishop f4 is more accurate. We're not going to look at the accuracy so much, we're just going to look at the ideas, because the ideas in this game are fantastic, I think. It's one of the better attacking games I've done. So the idea is the bishop just defends the pawn, he brings his bishop out to d6. And so what he wants to do is target this guy, maybe get him to get exchanged or what have you, so we can then try and undermine this pawn. Because right now the pawn is very well protected, but if the knight were to retreat, maybe he can play, something like this, and he can try and gang up on the pawn that way. Another possibility is something like this. But it takes quite a bit of time for him to try and get rid of the pawn. Anyway, this is a very common idea. Undermine the knight. I don't really care. I play queen f3. He plays c6. I bring my rook in. He plays queen c7. And so we can see he's essentially full bore on this, trying to target the knight. He's also trying to hit the h-pawn. Which is great, but who cares about that? About the h-pawn. That's just going to open the h-file for me. It's going to cost him tempi, at least two, actually. One to move the bishop in, and one to move the bishop all the way back. And during that time, I'm going to attack. We could already see that my pieces want to come at him. All right? All of them. And he's only got a couple pieces on the king's side. Okay, he can bring the knight in. And to defend, or to defend, whoops, you know how the arrow should work. But there's a very strong chance that white gets a good attack here. And we'll see, I essentially bait my opponent into that. I play knight to e4, knight h5 is more accurate. Just jumping in, again, if he takes the pawn, he's got to be careful because if his queen moves, the bishop drops. If he moves the bishop, that's another tempi, and I'm threatening to blow him open, right? We can imagine this, take, all of a sudden we got sacrifices here, maybe sacrifices here. We got rook lifts coming in, right? I'm attacking his bishop, so his bishop needs to move. He's in huge trouble. And if he moves there, say, that was a mouse slip, whatever, all of a sudden f6, and it's game over. That's how fast this attack can come. Pretty nice, right? Oh, frig. Spoiler alert, that's how the game ends. Like, I don't know, it's like, what's happening? Anyway, so I play knight e4. He takes, and he wins the pawn. Good for him. I move my king, of course. He brings his bishop all the way back. Now, I miss a chance here. If you ask yourself, what is the most thematic move in this position? It's probably f6. Simply completely opening the position up. We got sacrifices here. We got this coming up. Again, basically all the attacks I was still looking at are still possible. And I didn't look at this hard enough because I wanted to keep his bishop trapped, right? I didn't want him to get a chance to exchange it. But now he's completely wide open. And we're going to see now, this is possible. Again, this is possible. Sacrifice. Again, the attack is overwhelming. The computer says it's +9. So effectively, I'm up a queen. Had I played f6, I would have simply won very, very quickly. But that would have robbed us of the interesting idea that I did play, which I was trying to work this entire time, and it did work. Let's take a look. I played queen h5. Also very natural. Bring the queen closer in. Again, these sacrifices here are coming in. Maybe f6. But the move I wanted to play, and the move I did after rook a to e8, because it looks like, uh-oh, he's hitting the knight. X-ray, excuse me, to the bishop. Do I have to waste time? How do I even defend that knight? Do I have to move my queen back? I'm sorry, I got the hiccups. No. I jump in, knight f6 check. Ooh, look at this. At first, the computer's not too sure about this, but then the evaluation starts going up and up and up. Again, technically, bishop takes h6 is quote-unquote better. We can imagine after take, we can see the checkmate idea is coming up pretty strong. Something like g6 doesn't work just because after f takes g6, again, the pawn is pinned. So we're simply losing this piece. If he does that, whoops, that'd be mate. And the computer says it's like mate in 8 once black is done with all his flight checks. So bishop takes h6 would have been a cleaner win. But wouldn't have been as interesting. Let's look at this. Knight f6 check. G takes f6. And of course, I come in with the bishop. So at the very least, I'm going to pick up my exchange. No worries. I'm also threatening to checkmate him instantly. And again, he can never block with bishop g6 because, well, 1, the pawn, and 2, the pin. And so I can just take with the queen. Pretty big attacks coming. Also, look, G and H files are wide open. Thank you very much for that. And so, again, either rook can slide over. And what does black do? Well, again, the immediate threat, queen g4, so he gets the king out of the way. Rook slides up. It's ready to move over. What does he do? He plays knight d5, which should be the losing move. Well, he's probably lost regardless. It's hard to say. After the immediate rook g8, rook h3, the saving move is knight to d7 instead of d5. d7. And we'll see why in a second. Let's back up. So in the game, again, he played knight d, which makes sense, right? He's trying to bring his knight closer to the action. I threw my rook over. He played rook g8. And so, of course, all I have to do is move my bishop somewhere, and then I will threaten mate on h7. The thing is, if I move it, you know, here or somewhere else, he has time to play rook g7. I can chase him away, you know, he can move back, or probably better is just a sacrifice exchange at this point, and my attack is stopped. So can I move the bishop and stop rook g7? And of course, bishop f8. And when I played this move, I was simply, I was enthralled at this point. Like, oh my goodness, look at this! I move my bishop to f8, it can be attacked by, you know, 3 different pieces. Doesn't matter though, because I'm going to mate on h7. And this is precisely why the knight, instead of coming to d5, needed to come to d7. So that way, if it were on d7, it could have played knight takes f8, and the knight defends against mate. Ah, all right. White still has a good attack. It just means we can't do this with this f8 idea. Anyway, so he offers the exchange. I take, and now here, notice how, if you look up here, he has 13 seconds left. I have 44 seconds left. And there's a couple problems here. One, I'm extremely slow. I'm a slow person, and I try to actually calculate to see if I can get a win, instead of, say, winning on time. And so, well, the good news is I do. I first take his knight, I check him, he blocks the bishop, my queen is attacked, so I gotta move my queen, but I just come to g7, and he's in huge trouble. Again, at any point, the bishop's pins, I'm just gonna take, and I'm up a rook, and his king is flying around. Can get rid of the arrow, there we go. He tries to run, so I take. He does this, why not? I take. It looks like I'm hanging a rook. But I'm able to win this pawn with check, and then I'm able to check him with the skewer, win the queen, check him. Now all I have to do is play rook here, and that's mate. Or I could play that, that's mate. And what happened, again, I had apparently, you know, 1 second left, and I went to grab the rook to do this, but I grabbed the pawn and I did this. And that's not a legal move. And as I spent my time doing this, I actually lost on time. So I technically didn't win this game, even though I won this game. I won this game so hard. This is one of my favorite games now. And I would, I'm going to do a very full analysis of this on my on the blog coming up. Again, I just played this, you know, minutes ago. So however many minutes this video is, you know, subtract, you know, 2 for me to set this up to get the recording equipment all ready. But that was it. This is fresh off the burner, an incredible game, and this is a. Wow. And again, this is what makes the French defense a fun opening, right? Who wants to play, you know, the closed clock position when you have something like this? If there's interested, I can show you as much theory as I know in this position, or not in this position, but in this opening. I can make some posts or videos, so let me know if you care. But again, let's just look at these ideas, right? Who cares about that pawn? I've got every piece coming out of his king. That took him 2 tempi, and in that time, I could have played f6 with a big attack. I played queen h5. Now I could have played bishop h6 with a big attack. Instead, I did this knight f6, and just look at these pawns. How it imprisons this bishop, and it stops all of his pieces from coming in. And it was just, wow, what an attack. I'm so happy. Even though I lost, quote unquote. Yeah, right. No, I won this game. 100%. So, but that's it. So let me know if you found that useful or helpful. Like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff if you want. Again, SmithyQ from SmithyQ.com. You can expect, again, a full analysis on this probably by the weekend. Coming up soon. How about that? And that's that. Okay. So thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.